Thank you very much for inviting us. Actually, I must apologize because I'm not supposed to speak today. I will speak on behalf of my colleagues and friends, Dr. Gaël Leroux, who is my colleague at the Poison Control Center of Angers in France, about plant poisoning when return to nature goes wrong. We know there's a lot of species of wild plants in our country, European country, like metropolitan France, but very few of them are toxic. And among the toxicity, we have very, very few of them who have high toxicity. However, every day in the Poison Control Center of France, and I think many other poison control center in European country, we received a lot of call about plant poisoning. What are these calls? Hopefully, most are children with mild poisoning, non-voluntary with accidental, just they want to try the little red things that are on the tree and in small quantities, and the severity is very, very low. But we have also very important poisoning of adults which are possibly potentially serious with severe, as we will see later on, from accidentally or even voluntarily use as recreative use or suicidal attempt. The explanations between the severity amount of, hopefully, most are asymptomatic, as I say, in most cases of children, in some cases of adults. When we look at the symptoms filled in the Poison Control Center, we have mainly digestive disorder that occur only in the huge appeal for Siraj, I think, might want to go upstairs. Sorry, that's not me. I don't have the radio on. Sorry. So we can see digestive disorder, but in some cases it can be much more serious. I just want to report two cases. The first cases occurred now almost 3 years ago about someone who during a hike in eastern of Pyrenees, which is the mountains of south of France, he picked and ate leaves of a plant traditionally consumed in this region called kumskur. This man was not a young man because he's 70 years of old, developed some digestive sign, sensory disturbance, cardiac trouble, and unfortunately leading to cardiogenic shock and death. Interestingly, and it is called this Aconitum napellus, which called in ancient time the arsenic plant, which is very, very toxic and can be found on the mountains. The flowers, there's no flower every time. You can see that the leaves can be quite confusing, and that's why the problem in this case. Indeed, a recent work led by the French Health Security Agency, the ANSES, with our network of the French Poison Control Center network, we found like 300 cases a year of poisoning by food confusion. And interestingly, in most half of the cases, the meal was shared between at least two people. It was mostly caused by leaves, sometimes by bulbs, but in most cases with a mix of flower, roots, stem, leaves, and bubbles and seed all together. We have quite different type of plants responsible of food poisoning. In most cases, it was people about 40 years old, no sex ratio. Some have experienced symptoms a little higher than I showed you before because they were more adult, as I mentioned. And we have among them few, but in case little cases, high severity. Asking, I don't know if you ask why people now more and more eat wild plants in our countries. They are not angry. It's not to for some because they are angry. It's because there's a way to be back to nature, to find new culinary discovery, maybe also and with the carving and all what we wild plants. And maybe also, and we have these somethings raised in France, and I think in other countries as well, the survival course and thrills. So as my colleagues say, we went to l'état de nature, the nature well-being, to man versus wild, with a lot of TV show and people wants to be survival. And this lead to our second case report where in last summer, a young man unfortunately died into a training course because he ate what was considered a wild carrot as a seizure, coma, asystolia, needs some norepinephrine and epinephrine, and hopefully 8 other people ate the same meal than he did, but fortunately very small amount. Unfortunately, as I told you, he died from deep acidosis, polemic shocks, and unfortunately died at D3. This was his meal because there were like we were involved as a legal expert, and definitely we found something that are good, like common nettle, cooked well, but unfortunately not wild carrot, but hemlock water dropwort, also called water hemlock. If you don't have the skill, these two plants are definitely similar. There's many differences that botanists know, but if you're not botanist and not a toxicologist, it's very easy to confuse them. Definitely, we have more and more training, survival training course, and we need to have to be involved as toxicologists, but I think also people with skills in botany or botanists were involved to these kind of courses because it can be dangerous, as I showed. Why people mix up plants? First of all, in French and in many languages, there's not, we don't use the correct name, but what we call the vernacular name. There's some lack of knowledge of botanical and familiarity, and potential toxicity is for me the most important. I don't want to take the riddle of the vernacular name because people in France confuse laurel and laurel, which is very different type of plants, but have the same vernacular name and get be confused. Sometimes where there's no flower and you don't black, it's not a black, and you need to know that, and that's why you don't become a botanist and eat plant if you have no knowledge of the wilderness. And what we can do, first of all, okay, there's a back to the nature. People wants to be survival, okay, but please, we try, and that's I say it's not me, it's my colleague here. Try to be a part of group that do back to the nature and try to teach them to be careful about the danger of the nature. Try to training, including medical and pharmaceutical toxicology in botany, as well as train toxicology for botanists. That's all what we want to show. If you have any questions, please let me know.